expecting us to implement, not to talk. We know that South African, we can talk and talk and talk. But what is important is for us to be action-orientated. So all those who are going to present, please let us be spot on, business-like, and make sure that we keep the concentration of people. I don't like this thing that people must be going outside. The moment you see chairs becoming empty, you must know that people are not listening to you. Thank you very much. Can you receive this thing with a very big round of applause to show that you support me? I'm supported. Thank you very much. You may start with the... No, relax.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Ntate Bohatsu, for navigating the first program so well. We are now going to our second session for the day. As you know, today is a must with a number of panel discussions. And we therefore want to make sure we utilize every moment so that we don't lose any moment in terms of what we are going to do. So what we're going to do in this session, as we have done yesterday, although today it will be a little bit different, we're going to give just an overview of the Mega Hub. And my expectation is that colleagues who will be in the panel for the next session after this one should listen very attentively, because their panel discussion will be based on the faunal biodiversity Mega Hub for the Northwest Province. So when you reflect, the reflections will be based on this initiative. However, for this session, we're going to have a few interventions by colleagues, both from government side as well as the industry, and then we wrap it up before we break for lunch and then continue for the next session, which is a panel discussion. Now, to start off with, to give the requisite background, I can't see the presentation. Yeah, to give the background is that, as I indicated yesterday to some of you who were here, we are a rich nation in terms of biodiversity, very rich, and that's why we must guard against any activity that seems to compromise this biodiversity richness. As you know, you might be aware that our succulent karoo in the Western Cape, moving towards the Northern Cape, is under severe pressure from poachers who are poaching our succulents. Those little succulents that you can only find in South Africa. So let's make sure that we protect what we have so that we have got all the requisite ecological services. And all this is based on our constitution. We have got a duty as South Africans, firstly, government, to make sure that we put all the measures to protect our environment for the current and future generations. Now, I thought today, before I give this high-level summary on the faunal Mega Hub, I should share with you a history, an evolution of the wildlife economy in South Africa. And this goes back, as I said yesterday, to the 60s. Because after the 60s, we embarked on a program to restore our wildlife. we realized that we had almost less than 100 rhinos, because there was this rampant poaching, and we embarked on a program to restore the black rhinos, and we worked so hard with the industry, with people who volunteered their lives to make sure we restore and recover. Similarly with the Bontebok in the Western Cape, similarly with the Cape Mountain zebra, we restore those from the brink of extinction. And how did we do that? We made sure that we work, government as well as the industry, to make sure that we restore these populations. What is also important here is that just before the 1990s, wildlife in South Africa was classified, as I indicated yesterday, res nullius, meaning that it belonged to no one else but to the state. The Game Theft Act was then promulgated in 1991, which changed all this by giving legal ownership of wildlife to landowners with a certificate of adequate enclosure. I did speak about this yesterday. This allowed landowners to reclaim escaped animals and also increase financial value for wildlife. The certificate of adequate enclosure allowed landowners to capture, to keep, hunt, and sell wildlife with fewer restrictions, and of course boosting wildlife value and encouraging commercial ranching. It also led to increased game numbers and a formal wildlife sector in South Africa. And as I said yesterday, today we are excited that we have got over 20 million heads of game that are straddling or walking in the game parks, in protected areas, as well as the private land area. And then, as I said yesterday, we've got over 13,500 game ranches in South Africa, and out of this, there is a whole lot of activities that the private sector does. And of course, working with the private sector, they believe that government has not done enough to make sure that we create such conducive legislative and regulatory environment. And this is the space that we will keep on improving. Now, where am I going with this? There is something called Gini coefficient. Gini coefficient. Now, the Global Wealth Report 2024 released by the Swiss Bank highlighted where wealth inequalities have grown in the furthest. South Africa came top of that list, scoring 82 out of 100 on the inequality index, where 0 indicates totality or total inequality and 100 indicates absolute inequality. Gini coefficient measures inequality on a scale of 0 to 1 going forward, where higher values indicate a higher inequality. So if the country is on a 0 Gini coefficient, it simply means that there is equal distribution of wealth in that country. But immediately a country starts appearing on number 1 going further, it means the rate of inequality of the society is coming to bear. A value of 0 indicates perfect equality. Everyone has the same income. A value of 1 indicates perfect inequality, where one person receives all the income and everyone else receives nothing or little. So the Gini coefficient of South Africa is estimated to be sitting at 0.63 in 2024. You must be scared about that. If you get 50%, it's a D. If you get 60%, it's a C. If you get 75%, it's an A, or whatever, going to 80%. For South Africa is sitting at first class of inequality. So we are an unequal society. When you had the first, second, fourth, fifth, sixth administration talking about tackling issues of poverty, inequality, and unemployment, this is what it meant. Simply meant this. So I need you to really look at that. I'm going to play a 2-minute video clip here to give a context to the faunal biodiversity for Northwest and for the rest of South Africa, so that when we go to that slide, you understand why the 7th administration is alive and make sure that we really embark on this program. I hope technocrats will assist me with the volume. Can we give the volume? The volume. We need the volume for this, which is playing. Okay. It's a very short clip, but it's a very good context of what we are going to do. The volume. Thank you. You will understand with this 2-minute thing why government is embarking
Africa has been fundamental to the global prosperity of the advanced countries. And Africa had a role to play. It has a role as a raw material producer. We will not allow sub-Saharan Africa to escape that. Okay, we do everything to keep sub-Saharan Africa where it is, also impoverished. It's absolutely vital for the prosperity of everyone else. So let's get clear about that. Okay, and this means all the economic structures, all the global institutions, and the economics we teach everyone is all designed to keep Africa exactly where it is. And whether it is Europe or US or now China, it's always the same. We need Africa to be impoverished because we need those raw materials and we need them dirt cheap. Okay, so that's the message. It doesn't mean to say that there's nothing Africans can do. Of course there is. This is what it's about. Because if Africa does do something different, I assure you living standards of all those in Europe and North America and Asia is going to fall. Okay? And that is a big price to pay. I assure you that the West is not going to allow that without a big fight. Okay, so the job of many Western academics is to convince Africans they have to keep doing what they're doing. Okay, and to show them it's your fault that you're poor. It's not our fault. It's your fault that you're poor. You know, so this is what we do in academic institutions. We know the basic forces that have caused this underdevelopment. We know it's colonization. We cannot afford to allow Africa to industrialize and start producing manufacturers. Okay, so we will do everything to stop that. And I'm going to show you how we actually block that. We had East Asian rapid industrialization processes. So in the earlier period, we had Japan and Korea and Taiwan.
Let me stop it here. I'm sure the message is clear. Sub-Saharan Africa and the rest of the developing world has been condemned by the rich global world to be the supplier of raw materials, because the rich global world have decimated their raw materials, they have decimated their indigenous biological resources, they have decimated their natural resources. So the developing world has got wealth of these resources. So the idea here that this economist, professor or doctor is saying is that they will not allow the developing world to start industrializing, to start localizing the value chain of this. So when you hear government saying, we want to localize the value chain, when you hear the government says, we want to make sure we trap all these indigenous biological resource material that are going overseas, and make sure we create and establish and develop factories here in South Africa, it's about to make sure we develop our country. It's about to make sure we create the jobs. It's about to make sure that we have got entrepreneurship that is spiraling out of control within the borders of our land. That's what we are looking for. So it's not something that the administration is just doing. The administration is doing it because we are sitting with wealth here, which is being utilized elsewhere. You know, in the 60s, South Africa developed, manufactured its own first car. You know what happened? The global north said, whoa, 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 stop that car. Yours is to assemble the parts for our brands. Up until today, that's what we are doing. Meanwhile, we do manufacture a lot of, we do manufacture or assemble a lot of brands and export from here. It means we can be able to produce a car as a nation. So all I'm saying, in the biodiversity sector, when you hear about biodiversity economy mega hub, it is about localizing the value chain of our indigenous biological resources. I won't delve much on this to save time. The basis on which we do this is our constitution, is the white paper policy which I outlined yesterday, but also it's about the National Biodiversity Economy Strategy, which talks to ecotourism, which talks to consumption of wildlife, which talks about consumption of marine, which talks about beneficiating our plants through a bioprospecting. But lastly, which talks about us looking after our ecological infrastructure, because the biggest threat of biodiversity is biodiversity loss. Now, this is the localization strategy for the whole nation. And I will summarize it, because I want to spend about a few minutes in Northwest alone. If you go to the first one, Eastern Cape. Eastern Cape, we want to trap all the floral biodiversity resources. There is faunal, which means the animal ones. We are trapping them in Northwest, but in the Eastern Cape, we are trapping the floral, which means we need mega factories that will produce medicinal and nutraceutical as well as cosmetic products in the Eastern, including vaccine. We suffered during COVID because we were to rely on other folks who are producing medicines that are born out of resources that are coming from this country. But when we say vaccine, they take their time and they put all the red tapes. So we want as a country to produce our own medicines, our own nutraceutical products, our own cosmetic products. That is in the Eastern Cape. When we go to KZN, in KZN, as I said yesterday, South Africa has got over 200,000 traditional health practitioners who are supporting 27.7 million South Africans when they've got ailments, when they've got disease, and all the attacks spiritually and otherwise. 27.7. I don't know in terms of calculation, it's almost half the population of the Republic. We depend on the work done by our traditional health practitioners, over 200,000 of them. So in KZN, we want to make KZN as an example of, as a launching pad to make sure that we make traditional medicine available across the board, tested and tried so that there is efficacy, there are no toxins, so that people then don't get sick. So that every street and town in South Africa has got a dedicated town for traditional medicine, so that they can thrive as a business. Now, when we go to Limpopo, as I said, every year we go to the hunting shows in America. We said we are going to establish our own international hunting convention center in South Africa. And we will do it in a province with the largest quantity of wildlife, and that will be Limpopo. So that convention center will be in Limpopo. The same way we have done with the tourism indaba in Durban, where we subsidize airlines to bring buyers to South Africa, we are going to do the same. We are going to subsidize the buyers from all over the world to come to Africa, to come to South Africa and do it in Limpopo. Now, when you go to the next one, which is in Mpumalanga, it's about ecotourism. When you go to Western Cape, it's about the Center for Indigenous Knowledge System. When you go to Free State, it's about the mass cultivation of these indigenous resources. Because we're not going to depend on the wild for us to be able to meet the demand of the future when we've got factories that are producing these things. We will need to mass cultivate these indigenous resources, medicinal plants, your alu, maloti, which is prevalent here in Northwest, your cancer bush, which is prevalent here, your devil's claw, which is prevalent here in Northwest, and many, many other plethora of species. We're going to do that. And then when you go to Gauteng, as the presenters were doing it yesterday, they did indicate that the biggest market of South Africa for any product is Gauteng. While Northwest will be focused on the faunal, in other words, on making sure that you optimize on the value of an animal, a wild animal. That means Northwest is going to have to produce a lot of game meat. Game meat must come from this province, en masse. So I therefore call upon farmers, game ranchers, to expand your establishment, because this province will be focusing on supplying South Africa in terms of game meat. So where is the market? The market is Gauteng. Northwest will be the one which is producing byproducts that are coming from leather across the board of these animals. If I was to ask any farmer here, they will tell you, after we do culling, after we do hunting, we do have leather, a lot of leather, and we don't know what to do with it because we can't keep on treating them with salt all the time. So Northwest will be that province that will be doing exactly that, to create mega factories, to also have many value chains of schools that are training people on how to do skin tannery in this province. And lastly, the Northern Cape. We want to make sure that Northern Cape become the mega hub for research and development, working with Sol Plaatje University, the National Research Foundation, South African National Botanical Institute, and many, many other research institutions such as CSIR, and many, many others. Now, the question is, if indeed we're going to make the faunal biodiversity mega hub in Northwest see the light of the day. What are these things that we must be wary of? One, there are barriers to entry. Barrier number one is access to land. That's why I'm happy with Mokhatsu and the team here, because we need every piece of land to make sure that those who were previously excluded in this industry, they can enter it with their shoulders high. One. Two is the capital. That is finance. Three, legislative framework. So which means we as government have got a duty and responsibility to create conducive environment for the industry to thrive. Four, lack of economies of scale. Always the demand must not outstrip the supply. And then lack of accurate information. That means we need to do awareness programs throughout the country. And for the game meat MEC, the Department of Tourism has undertaken that they're going to lead the game meat awareness program nationally, working with their associations. So we're going to be partnering with Department of Tourism. We're going to be partnering with the DSI. We're going to be partnering with the Department of Traditional Affairs, whom we have got a memorandum with already. We're going to be partnering with the Department of Health, and of course, DALRAD, which is the Agriculture Department, and also Land Reform. We also signed a memorandum of understanding with them because all the regulations for game meat come from them. And then, other very important aspect we need to look at is the network effect, the market access. That's why we need the industry to work with the emerging game farmers closely. And then disease outbreaks. These are some of the risks. This issue of some of our South Africans going to buy buffaloes near the red line area, and you walk freely with them in a trailer to Northwest, to Free State and elsewhere, must come to an end. Because you are exporting all this disease from red line areas to an area which never experienced that. And similarly with cattle, there are people who buy a cattle in a yellow line zone or red line zone and take them to a free area. We really must stop that. And lastly, product differentiation. I thought MEC, because I've spoken a lot about this presentation yesterday, I'm going to only focus on one area and just give you some snippets of what that product would mean for the Northwest province. We want to transform the game meat industry so that we lay the foundation for an inclusive economy. We want to formalize the game meat industry so that we can increase food safety, but also food security. That's what we want to do. In case people don't know, we are producing 59 million kg of game meat every year, which is 59,000 tons. That's what we are producing. But you know what? You will hardly find game meat in a U-Safe shop. You will hardly find game meat in a spaza shop because it is sitting either in Woolies or in some of the selected few retail shops. We want to make game meat accessible to ordinary South Africans. So I shouldn't have to develop some itchy tendencies to want to poach an animal. I must enjoy game meat because I can buy it from anywhere. And that's the whole program. As you can see here, for us to do that, we need 1 million hectares of community-owned land entering the game meat production industry. So we call upon our Mahoshia Runa. If there are people, entrepreneurs, who want to enter this space, give them land. We also want to call Land Affairs or our commission to make sure that if there are land parcels or agriculture department, if there are land parcels and there are entrepreneurs who are itching to enter the space, give them space to do that. And as government, we have decided that when an emerging game farmer comes on board, one, we are going to train them. Two, and resources permitting, underline that because two, we're going to fence the land that you say you want game meat to happen here. Three, we're going to make sure that you have got a requisite infrastructure and facility for you to take off, like a turnkey project. That's our ambition. And that's what we have been doing for the last while, but because we've got challenges with resources these days, and I'm sure one day government will still revive all this revenue collection, and then we keep on supporting the emerging team. But number three, I think MEC spoke about it in the morning. We donate game. Sandparks is here. They're going to share with us their program. We take government animals and hand over to a community for free. And we loan game to an entrepreneur where we give you a head of family, and you take all the offsprings and you can hand over the rest back to us. But we'll hear it about from Madam Njanga. As I conclude, if South Africa can invest a total of 880 million, this is what we're going to get. We are going to raise 3.1 billion per annum just from game meat. And I'm not talking about the other value chain. 3.1 billion per annum just from game meat. Remember, at the moment, game meat is a byproduct of local and international hunting. It's not a formalized. The formal game meat is about only 10%. The rest is informal. That's why you don't know where this 56,000 kg is going. But people are using it. But when it is formalized, it will be available everywhere. Three, if we invest this money, we are going to add another 100,000 jobs. Because at the moment, there is 104,000 people employed in the game meat industry. At the moment. So we're going to add another 100,000 by 2030. Four, we will then take the 59,000 to 100,000 tons of game meat by 2030, which means we are going to produce 100 million kg of game meat. And automatically that deals with food security issues. And lastly, we are going to increase the resolve for South Africa to transform the industry. It cannot be, it just cannot be that for many years, majority of population of this country only account for 3.5% in the wildlife. It can't be. As I said yesterday, the good thing is that those who have led us, those who are established, are willing to mentor the emerging ones, and that is what we need as South Africans. The last slide is the low-hanging fruits. As you can see, those low-hanging fruits. That is the biltong. One, low-hanging fruit number one is the establishment of a game meat desk. And by the way, MEC, we are in the process, we have already written letters to the various departments to establish a game meat desk comprised of national departments and provincial management authorities, so that they sit in that collective. And then there are so many low-hanging fruits. Number two, develop rural throughput. And this is something happening in the village. Number three, add a meat safety model to training of professional hunters. So all the professional hunters, we need to add a meat safety, because we don't want to fight with our Department of Agriculture, our vets. 4, audit all butcheries to decrease the amount of informal meat processed. There are people, when they shoot animals, they shoot it in the tummy. Meanwhile, when you are a professional hunter, you have to shoot it in an area where that one shot, it's a fall. But when you shoot here, you unleash bacteria, because animals have got bacteria like any other thing. So I'm just saying to you, all this is to summarize the fact that there are things, MEC, we can do now. There are things that we can do in the medium, and there are things that we can do in the long term. On that note, that is a short summary of the foundation that will assist the speakers after this session to reflect on what the faunal biodiversity economy will mean for Northwest. What each role of the industry, what each role of the communities, Mishate, and everybody, how are they going to play to do that? Thank you very much. I have been humbly requested by our Land Claims Commission colleagues, because they've got other engagements, to take them as the next presenter, so that we address all the 40 CPAs that are here, and also all of us that are here. Can we put our hands together as we welcome the Land Claims Commission? Are you ready? Land Claims Commission.
Let me first take this time to greet our Honorable Premier, Honorable MECs, Khosinyala Lapilan, councillors, and colleagues. I think it's still good morning. I've been requested by Re Lengane Bokhatu, who is the head of the office, to make this presentation on his behalf. Those who don't know him in his other life, he's called Comrade Sien Lengane Johannes Bokhatu. I will be short, Chair, because we've been made aware that if you take too long, people tend to lose concentration. And so I will try to be as precise as possible on my presentation. The outline of the presentation, it's a simple one. It's 8 points. We'll quickly talk to the mandate of the Commission. The overview of claims lodged in the Northwest Province, where it involves conservation, summary of claims lodged on conservation land the cabinet memo, which I'm not gonna go too much into, the memorandum of understanding, settlement agreements and co-management agreements that have already been signed before. And I'm happy, MEC, that you want this to be done as soon as yesterday, because of it actually will overarch the work that we are intending to do as the departments. Then we will talk to the overview of hectares and grants that are outstanding to be transferred within the parks. Claims with conservation outside the parks, I'm not going to go too much into it, just to highlight, because of the part of those that are affected by the program that we have embarked on today. Proposed settlement models, I don't think I will go too much into it, because of yesterday we had a presentation on the proposed settlement models within nature conservation, and I will talk to the challenges and the proposed solutions. Let me see, you know, they say a picture tells 1,000 words, and I guess this picture summarizes those words, because of this is what informs the work of the commission. Our mandate is to reverse the legacy of the 1913 Natives Land Act. This is where the problem started, where the land was dispossessed from the indigenous people. Land is an emotive issue, MEC. You know, it has caused enormous hardships to our people. And it goes without saying that these challenges, based on the presentations that we made yesterday, are multi-institutional, multidisciplinary, and I think to a certain extent, multifaceted. And you see this picture, it reflects the current situation of where we are as a country. And I believe it is our collective responsibility to make sure that we transform these enormities into optimistic, future oriented settlements that are prosperous and are sustainable. So the mandate of the commission, MEC, it's a simple one. It stems from section 25(7) of the Constitution. It says we are here to assist those persons or communities who were dispossessed of property after 1913-19 June as a result of the past racially discriminatory laws. And so the picture that I actually put there, this act addresses that picture. And so in 1994, there was an enactment of the Land Restitution Act. In terms of Section 4, where our mandate comes is it establishes the Commission on Restitution of rights in land, for which Mr. Bohatu is the head in the Northwest Province. The Commission is only tasked to deal with claims administratively, where we are agreeing with those that are affected. But should we disagree, Section 22 establishes the Land Restitution Act, that if you fail to reach an agreement as parties, please refer the matter to the Land Claims Court for adjudication. And that's what we do in cases that we don't reach settlements. Therefore, our mandate is very simple. It is just to receive the claims which were lodged before the 31st of December 1998. We investigate the claims in terms of the Act and we settle them. That's it. Anything after settlement is the mandate of our sister departments to assist us with post-settlement. And so this is a simple land restitution process. It begins with the lodgement. We are talking claims that were lodged prior to the 31st of December 1998. Upon receiving these claims, we do what we call an investigation to establish whether the claim meets the requirements. We either accept or we dismiss. If we dismiss, we refer it in terms of Section 14 to the Land Claims Court for further adjudication. If we reach an agreement, we go to negotiations and we go to settlement. This is where we ask the minister that the parties have now reached an agreement, please proceed to approve so that we can transfer the land. Anything after that, if you see the last row call, it's entitled finalization. That's where we need, as the commission, various departments, the Northwest Parks Board, DEDECT, Provincial Agriculture, to come on board and assist us so that the land that we transfer, it does not lose its integrity. It must continue to produce the same way it did before it was transferred to these communities. I think that is a big indictment on the part of us sitting here to make sure that the land that we transfer remains sustainable. I'm not going to go too much into the entitlement to restitution because I want to go to the work that we have done. I will just summarize the work that we've done as the commission in Northwest. We received in total 2,511 claims. To date, we have settled and finalized 1,948. And we've got just about 563 claims outstanding for us to finalize. And we have projected that we will complete all claims. These are the old order claims because we've got just about 11 new order claims that are sitting in our shelves. But those were prevented by the court to proceed to deal with them until we are advised otherwise. But with the old ones, 2028, 2029 financial years are the years that we believe we'll be able to settle. Now we've got about 690. Those 563 claims that are outstanding, they constitute 690,000 hectares of land, and we believe we will need an estimated amount of 4.5 billion for us to be able to settle it. In terms of the amounts of monies that we've spent, MEC, you will see that as the Northwest Commission, we've made an impact. But whether or not this impact is felt on the ground, it's another argument. But on paper, it looks good, and the paper, it's worth nothing if it does not translate into tangible benefits that the MEC, I think since yesterday, is saying. The impact, how do we make sure that they trickle down to an ordinary person on the street? If you can look at the work that we have done and the amount we've spent since inception, we've got an amount of about 6.1 billion that was approved. We have since spent 5.7 billion. We have about 426 million that we need to spend. It's sitting in our commitment register. It must go to the communities. But what is worrisome is the 366 million MEC that you are seeing there. It is the money that it is for the 40, some of the 40 CPAs that are sitting here. We are unable to spend it because we need the department with the requisite skills and competencies to take over and make sure that this money goes to these communities. Right now, it does not even accumulate interest. If at least we have transferred it into some accounts where by the time they are ready, it has doubled in terms of what is sitting there, it would have been something else. Right now, it's still sitting within the government coffers, and it needs to move. And I need to emphasize that some of these amounts have been sitting since 2010. So we're talking 14 years ago. You can imagine the interest that would have been generated from this amount. Now, in the Northwest, we received just about 13 claims from communities within nature conservation. We've got 2, Komadikwe, ke ba Phalane ba Sesobe and barokologadi ba ga Maotwe. I know MEC, they are here. I've seen the project manager for barokologadi ba ga Maotwe. It's one of the best CPAs that we have in the province. Re na le tsenne ko Pilanesberg mo re leng mo teng mo MEC ke ba Polomiti, Velgeval, RKM le ba khatla ba khafela ba Kgosi Pilane. Re na le Borakalalo, re na le ko tse tlhano ko Borakalalo, Jonathan Moke CPA Hahabedi le Natong Klepfuur. Then re na le Babarspan, the Bird Sanctuary ko Ngaka Modiri Molema, ke barolong bo Sithiro, re na le ya Bofelo Highlands, ke barolong bo Modibua ko Dr. Kenneth Kaunda. Ha ke lo bua too much MEC regarding the cabinet memo. This was done there was a cabinet memo 5 in 2002, and I think it's got some significance because of when cabinet approved this memo, there were fundamental principles that the memo was referring to, that there has to be transfer of land. It has to happen because of at the time in 2002 there were arguments that any land within nature conservation cannot be transferred to communities. But now the cabinet memo emphasized it and said there has to be transfer, but without physical occupation. There must be sustainable partnerships between claimants and the management authority. Sustainable. And this one, it's very important, and the MEC has kept on repeating it over and over again. There has to be economic benefits that are realized by these communities. So the cabinet memo encompasses the sentiments of the MEC. And then following the cabinet memo, there were two ministers, the then Minister of Land Affairs and the Environmental Affairs and Tourism. On the 2nd of May, they concluded the Memorandum of Understanding. And I think this Memorandum of Understanding, MEC, died its natural death because of its not being implemented currently. And I'm happy that the two departments, DEDECT and Rural Development and Land Reform, are resuscitating this memo so that we can actually put it into effect. And the Memorandum of Understanding also emphasized those points as they were included in the cabinet memo, that there has to be ownership of title. It must uphold the principle of economic viability. Restoration should be equitable and should not disadvantage claimants by placing them in the worst position than they were before. Which means that if we restore land and nothing happens, in actual fact, the opposite happens. The Premier said yesterday, let us pack our bags and go because of we do not know what we are doing. I heard him loud and clear yesterday. Now, these are the overview of claims within these parks and the hectares and the amount of money that is available where these communities need assistance. Komadikwe, we have transferred over 33,000 hectares, and we've transferred all the hectares. There's about 6.9 million that is sitting there where the claimants say, give us our money. But we say, as the commission, we need somebody to help us, for you to spend the money wisely. For now, we are not in a position to do so. Kobarakalalo, we have, there was 22,000 hectares claimed. We've since restored 20,000. We've got about 1,864. They still have grants of about 9.2 million. Highveld, we have restored all the hectares, 5,075. There's an amount of about 22 million that we need to spend. Baberspan, we've got 1,276, and we have transferred all the hectares. 7.7 million has been transferred. So we're doing well, but the effect on the ground is not being felt. Now, in Pilanesberg, we've got Bapolomiti. We have transferred all the hectares, and at least here we've given them the money that was due to them because of they had a plan on their own for us to release the money. Velgeval, we've got 1,926 hectares and we have transferred. There was a chairperson of Velgeval yesterday, and she stood up and she said that they are frustrated and they don't know what to do. And this is the hectares that we have transferred within Pilanesberg. And they are sitting on 13.9 million. Part of their plans is that they need to be afforded developmental rights so that they've got their own lodge in this beautiful park that we are in, the same way as we have afforded other lodges that are here. They are saying so, that they've got partners that they can enter into, but we still need to look at them. Bakata Bakafel, they had, they've got 35, they are the biggest landholders within Pilanesberg. They've claimed 35,000. We've since restored 24,000. We still have about 11,700 MEC that we need to restore. In terms of grants, their total grants were 74 million. We have since paid them 29.5 million. We still have 44.9 million, but we are unable to release this 44 million because we need concrete plans, and we want to make sure that this money gets spent for what it is released for, not for any other thing. RKM is the only CPA within Pilanesberg that we have not yet transferred the hectare, but they are having a balance of 5.6 million. Now, this is the scary part about the CPAs within Pilanesberg. We are reliably informed that Pilanesberg has got about 57,200 hectares. Pilanesberg, this beautiful area that we are in. And there are 4 CPAs. All these CPAs have signed settlement and co-management agreements with the management authority, the Northwest Parks Board. And the intention was to unlock these economic and commercial rights for these communities. Now, look at the numbers. To date, we have restored 26,600 hectares. We still have about 11,000 hectares that we need to restore within this park. The already restored hectares constitute 45% of the land within Pilanesberg. If we restore all the hectares, it will be 38,000. And guess what? All these 4 communities combined will own about 66% here inside Pilanesberg. Now the question is, how do they benefit? They own 2/3 of the land within Pilanesberg once we restore the remaining 11,000. So this is where how do we, the land patterns have definitely changed. They have definitely changed. So in the past, yes, we understand the reasons behind why the first initial arrangements were within was with government, and the lease amount were paid to government. The question is just a simple thing: are the leases now being paid to the new landowners by the concessionaires or whoever is responsible through the management authority? And the answer is a big no, because of nothing is happening. If we are to tell the truth, if there's something happening, maybe it's somewhere in the corner, maybe we will hear about it as we proceed, and others, they tell their side of the story. But from what we hear from the claimants is that very little or nothing is happening. And so we will hear Commission. I'm not MEC, I'm not going to talk on behalf of other departments or the claimants, but I'm sure you heard the frustrations of some of the CPAs that are here, that we are the owners within the park, but we are not benefiting. Those hectares are not reflective of the situation on the ground. That's what they are saying. I'm gonna leave it there, MEC. The whole day because of its pain to us, because we are working with these communities on a daily basis. We've got other properties. I'm not gonna go too much into this. We are doing well. This is where the smart city is gonna be. MEC. We have seen another proposal that there's gonna be a racetrack. And the proposal is around Hartbeespoort. That's where we are going with the smart city. We have restored 233 hectares of prime land for Oberon, what we now refer to as Oberon Resort. The value thereof is about 92 million. There are plans, I know, between the two departments that we are going towards the establishment of the smart city. We have spent more than 105 million. We've restored 5,580 hectares. There is a beautiful lodge there. We have paid them more than 23 million. They need assistance, but I know that the Northwest Parks Board is involved in the project, and we hope that we take their hands and we move with them. Of Bloemfontein and Tshwane. We've spent more than 120 million in acquiring this land, and we've released 40 million. Mr. Mike Engelzakis, who presented yesterday, he was a partner. He was holding 20% share in this business, but because of he was tired and he said he needed to be released as a partner. But it's one of the projects we want assistance because of. If we don't, I know, Mr. Denga, you are part of this project, and it's a good opportunity for biodiversity expansion. There's more than 12,000. Now we are at 12,000 that we have acquired, that we need assistance. MEC. This one is a painful one because of we bought this land for 57 million. There's a beautiful, very beautiful lodge. It's got, I think, 35 beds, and a history. Yeah, Bakwena bo Modimosane, Maka, Matlaku, and Matau. There's a huge heritage site. It has been declared a heritage site by the South African Heritage Resource Agency. And the lodge, currently, it is painful what is happening with the lodge. As government, we spent 57 million. We've had so many beautiful meetings with the former MEC. But now if you go there, MEC, we can't even invite you to this lodge because of the state it's in. So these are some of the projects we need to look at. Bahurutibo, Sibukudibo, Rietfontein, we acquired a beautiful 2,000 hectares. Again, Mr. Denga tried to intervene. But they had to be put down, and the community fed on this. Currently, I was speaking to one of the landowners who is an owner. He says, go there, there's not even a fence. And this is a game farm. 2,000 hectares of beautiful game farm. There is no fence. It has been taken. We need assistance. Then God did the best he could here. There was a company that was hired to take over, but it has since left because of the challenges that we are having there. So I think I'm almost at the end. There was a presentation on the settlement models. I'm happy that Pilanesberg was the pilot project on how best we can settle claims within nature conservation. And one of the most preferred models of the four, and there is the four, maybe let me repeat because of, I think we do not understand what core management actually entails, because of the settlement model says, if you go for a core management, you must include revenue sharing, rental income. I've just said that are these CPAs as the new owners receiving rent, capacity building, development rights. Velgeval, they want to develop their own lodge within Pilanesberg. It says they've got a right to do so, of course, following the necessary due processes. Mandatory partner status, equity partnership, access rights, natural resource. So when we now develop through our memorandum of understanding or agreement between the two departments, we must go deeper into what it means to benefit these communities. There's a lease model and the strategic partnership joint venture, but the Tolaboroko is the concession model. Because of this concessioners, there's 99-year leases. They started way back in 1987, around that time. There were agreements of the amount of monies that needed to be paid to government. Where these amounts paid, we do not know. And so, there is a need to review the concessions, MEC, because the new landowners are on board. The land patterns have changed, and therefore there is a need that we review the current concessions so that they have meaning to the communities. And what do they mean? How do we ensure that they benefit through the new arrangements that the MEC says we need to confront this thing head on and say, yes, we are sitting on the leases that bind us, but there are new entrants, there's new landowners. Let us come to the table and let us talk. The status quo has changed. Challenges, quickly, I think these are the last two slides. The challenges that we have summarized them as follows: is the slow pace or lack of implementation of the signed settlement and core management agreements between all the stakeholders. Old and outdated 99-year lease agreements signed between the state and the concessionaires. I think I'll stop at those two. Proposed solutions. We need to immediately conclude the memorandum of understanding between the two departments, MEC, and this will drive the implementation of the core management agreement. We must be intentional. Who does what within this MOU? We must establish the fora. I think there must be a vehicle that drives this core management, because without a vehicle, you won't be able to achieve it. And so there must be some form of a joint coordinating committee through this MOU for us to do, so that MEC, they are accountable to the necessary authority. And there must be, I'm happy that there has to be some form of an indicator within the strategic plan of your department, MEC, that you monitor the performance of this joint coordinating committee, that you will decide who becomes the member, so that they are accountable to you. We need to review the parks master plan, which incorporates the interest of the claimant communities to which the land has been restored, and we need to explore options through the MOU on how to maximize claimants' beneficiation. The settlement models are there. We just need a team to explore and get all the necessary parties that are affected, including concessionaires, to say, how do we restructure this vehicle going forward? We need to consider the inclusion of claimants' representatives within the Northwest Parks Board as the new owners. We need to commence the discussion on the role of concessionaires within the parks, because of Currently, these roles are blurred as they are just capsulated within those 99-year leases. Closer working relations between us as departments and the review of these 99-year lease agreements to take into account the CPAs as the new participants in within conservation. I thank you, Program Director.
Thank you. Commission, thank you very much for this presentation. And I'm very sure it really it's poignant to our many CPAs that are here, because I really think every CPA are aspiring that when they take over a land that has been settled to them, either within protected areas or outside protected areas, there must be those tangible benefits that arise. And we also want to see Commission and the MEC and our MEC a situation. I think he gave one example of one CPA that adopted a model which is sustainable and beneficial to the beneficiaries, because there must always be a distinction between the landowner, which is the CPA, and the business, which is a special purpose vehicle to run the business. So immediately you have got the CPA, which is the landowner, who has got oversight over the land, but also the fiduciary duty to anything that happens there. And you have their hands dipped in operations, you are likely going to have problems. People will start fighting to say, no, and so forth and so forth. So let us find good baseline, good examples and learn from them, so that we don't repeat these many mistakes that were made by many CPAs over the years. And I think on that note, I needed just to be guided, because I just wanted us to take one presentation before we break for lunch. So I wanted to make sure that I don't break the protocol for lunch on the other side. We only have got 2 presentations left. So if lunch is ready, we will break. But if it is not ready, I need to be guided, Tate Denga, as to whether we should take one more presentation. Or we take lunch. Okay. All right, it's 21 minutes past 1. When we come back, we are going to hear the game donation policy from both, from our Northwest Parks and Tourism Board, but also get a share of similar policy, including Vision 2040 by SunParks. And I think SunParks has enormous experience, not only in game donation, but also in terms of commercialization of protected areas. And now they are the ones who will be leading the Mega Living Landscapes program across the country, working with other management authorities. On that note, let me take this opportunity to thank you for listening in this session, and allow you to exit for lunch. We are back here at exactly 2 o'clock. 2 o'clock, we are all seated so that we continue with the program. Thank you very much.